listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Teresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hello and welcome. Today, I have the immense pleasure of interviewing my favorite money mentor, Denise Duffield Thomas. Denise helps the new wave of online entrepreneurs release their fear of money and create first-class lives. A lot of that happens in her Money Bootcamp, which has helped over 8,000 students from all over the world. That's honestly amazing. And over the years, I have really enjoyed her books, including Lucky Bitch, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, and Chill and Prosper. I read it as Chillpreneur, but it's relaunching this summer in a new whole way that Denise will talk to us about. And all of those just offered such fresh and funny perspective on living a life of abundance without burnout. And they all share these amazing counterintuitive millionaire mindset lessons, as well as guidance and actionable advice, which I love, to help you find the path of least resistance to your success. Welcome, Denise. It is so amazing to have you here today.
Well, what a nice introduction. Thank you. Oh, wow. I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. And, you have been on my dream 100, so to speak, of people that I would just love to have a conversation with, because first of all, I just really like you and relate to you. And I feel like, just for that reason, we both got into like personal development at a very young age. We both love to devour books. We're both Hamilton fans. We both were, creative entrepreneurs since we were old enough to create something for which money could be exchanged. And we both enjoy making success and manifesting money fun. And we both actually got formally diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 42. So those
oh my gosh, are we twins?
I
don't know. Best friends.
Exactly. But, but on a serious note, in addition to that, you hold a special place in my personal story because you were one of the voices that I listened to talking about using EFT, emotional freedom techniques, early on. And it was a voice that reassured and made credible my choice to pursue EFT mastery, and just having, heard how well it worked for you and how effective it was. So I really thank you for that. And I'm so grateful to have you here to dive into a handful of fun topics and get ready for your upcoming book launch.
Oh, yes. But can I one little thing you just said there, so interesting, is the EFT thing. The only reason that I found out about that is, go back years ago to 2004, maybe 2005. Yeah. And I was working in a consultancy and we had this new temp come in and we were talking about personal development. And she was like, have you read this book? Oh, I'll lend it to you. And then she said, have you ever tried EFT? And I was like, no, what is that? And back then YouTube wasn't really around so much. And so she had to lend me her folder of DVDs to learn EFT. And it was back when it was really complicated. You had to hum happy birthday and roll your eyes one way, roll your eyes the other way. You had to tap on your fingers so much. But it really set me on an interesting path. And I think for me, we have to share what we know with other people, because if she hadn't shared that with me, I don't even know where I would be, to be honest. And so, all of us, we need to keep on sharing our resources and sharing our knowledge with each other and sharing our resources. Otherwise, someone might never go on a path.
Absolutely. And it definitely helps normalize things, because so often we learn something and then we just assume that because we know it, everybody else knows it. But you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So
exactly.
It's amazing. So I'm also in the process of writing my first book, and I've been so inspired by you as an author and just really appreciate the way that you continually show me through your own journey what's possible time and time again. So why don't you just take a minute before we really dig into things to let people know a little bit more about who you are, get acquainted with your work if they are not familiar, a bit about you, your family, where you live, how you got into your current business.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can talk about any of those for a million years. I'll start with what I do now. So I am a money mindset mentor, which is a totally made up term. But I write books and I have courses to help people with their money mindset, to help them with their confidence around money. But really what I love doing is exploring into people's backstories, into their origin stories, to find from a place of curiosity, not from a place of trauma, where and why they act the way they do around money. And so for me, it's an endless source of fascination, really, to find out why money is so taboo for us all, why in particular money is scary for us, because we all have our own personal stories. And yeah, I do that with my books, but also with my Money Bootcamp community. And you know, we explore a different topic every month about different things. Like, for example, we did a call about weddings. How do weddings and our story of weddings collectively impact our money mindset? So I love my work because people just tell me their secrets, really.
I
And
love that
can
about my work too. It's so much fun to dive into what's happening in people's heads and help them figure it out, isn't it?
It really is. But the way I got into that work really is that I was, you know, I grew up with a single mom. We moved around a lot. And I think the thing that was a real constant in my life was reading. We're really encouraged. You could read all day if you wanted to, no big deal. And so I was always in bookstores or libraries. And I used to go to this bookstore after school because, ADHD friend, I would forget my keys every day.
I'm guilty of
And
that too.
yeah, right. And so because I forgot my keys, instead of just waiting outside the house, I would just go to this local bookstore and just basically stay there until I knew my mum would be home to let me in. And I got really good at reading books really fast. And so I would stand in the aisle and read and just go basically to try and absorb the information. And I saw this little book one day. It was called The Magic of Believing by Claude and Bristol. And it's one of those old school law of attraction books. And it's very small, but so I read it. I can't remember if I read it there or if I shoplifted it. That one. It was either that or one of a Stephen King book. But it really changed the way I saw the world, because I didn't realize that you could change your thoughts and you could control your thoughts and how people perceived you, because I was being used to being perceived a certain way by my friends' parents. You know, I came from a single parent family, young single parent family, and I was never really put together that well, both because my mum was very scatty and because I was very scatty. So I kind of looked, even though I wasn't particularly, I kind of looked like a bit of a neglected troublemaker child. And I know that my friends' parents thought I was, I don't know, giving them drugs or whatever. But really what I was doing was going, hey guys, I saw this episode of Oprah yesterday where she talks about having a gratitude list. Let's sit down and write our gratitude lists together. And so that was the kind of kid that I was. And so for me, it was a very natural progression. One day I would work in this field. It just took me a long time to get there because I didn't think it was a real job. I had to overcome my own, you know, internal stuff and imposter syndrome. But honestly, how I am now, I could have done this job when I was 7, 9, 11, 14, because I was just always that kid who was curious about the world and curious about people and just wanted to help people. That's all I wanted to do my whole life.
I think the curiosity is my favorite superpower of ADHD. If I have to pick one, just being constantly curious and never bored. Absolutely never, ever bored. So with your formal diagnosis also at 42, how did you feel about the diagnosis? Like, did it impart any particular level of consciousness to you, or was it just kind of like, eh?
No, it was life-changing. And like a lot of people, it came through one of my kids was at daycare, but we were going to all of these different specialists and things like that to help him. And it was like a couple of days before Christmas, and we were on a call with his class and his therapist. And she said, oh, I just want to say something and please don't be offended. And I went, just say it. And she goes, I think he might have ADHD. And I went, oh, and it opened up something, because I went, of course he does. And then I was like, And I think I do too. And it was incredibly validating. And I find that people have different reactions when I would tell them that I was diagnosed. There was a bit of like, oh, no, don't say that about yourself. And I was like, oh, dude, no, this is the best thing ever. Very validating. I think, I mean, you can tell me on this too, but you see everything in your life in such a different way through a different lens. And there's some sadness in that too. I just think, what could I have been capable of with a little bit more support? Even just not even, being medicated or whatever as a kid necessarily, but just the validation that I'm not lazy or I'm not just disorganized. It blew my mind really. And I'm so grateful. So I think it's been about a year now for me.
Me too.
And it's been an incredible year. I feel like a different person. And I even looked at a photo that came up on my phone from a year. I was like, oh, wow, I am a different person.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear it. I've never thought of it as a negative thing. And any one of my children that's old enough to be diagnosed has been. So I just figured I might as well get in the ring with them and, at least ante up for the diagnosis so we could all at least say, oh, confirmed. Okay. I knew where it came from. It definitely didn't come from my husband. So, but yeah. So, you've had all these different successes over the years, and I love following your journey with that. Was there a moment when you really felt like you made it?
Yep. People ask me this a lot. And the truth is, I felt that way more keenly in the first year of my business. By the time I hit milestones, it's not like you go from 0 to 1 million in like a day. It's such a progression that when it clicks over, it's not like so much of a big leap, I think. But for me, the first year, when I was overcoming so many of those scary things, the first client that you get, the first time you have to set a boundary, the first time you set your prices, I actually think that's way more worthy of celebration than some of the. Yeah, they are. They're huge. So I had my first ever workshop. I think it was 2010 or maybe 11, and I went and toasted myself with champagne and I was like, more of this, please. And I made no money out of the workshop, but it just felt like such a milestone. And it's the same. The first time I launched a course and I had one person, I celebrated that so much. And that's where I think the difference between people who haven't succeeded, because I'm no smarter than anyone else, but I see people who they see all of those things as failures. And I really did see them as successes. So I remember that champagne toasting myself, more of this, please, way more. I don't even know where I was when we hit the $1 million mark. Like I can't remember it, but I do remember those first things so much because it's so much more significant overcoming those fears at the start, because then it's okay. But it takes courage to plant that seed,
It does. And so often we forget to pat ourselves on the back as we're going through all the things that ultimately get us to the goal. And getting to the goal, so often we've been believing the whole time that once we get there, it's a little anticlimactic. So we might as well enjoy the journey, right?
Definitely.
So I'm on your email list, which is fantastic, by the way. I think you do a wonderful job with that. And in today's, you were talking about, you made mention that, when you send random requests out to the universe, you get random results back. And so in kind of talking about manifesting goals and celebrating things along the way, what are some of your best recommendations for tapping into your intuition and getting clarity when it comes to setting and achieving goals?
I'm a Virgo, so I am really practical. And I think that was the hardest thing for me when I learned about the law of attraction, because to me, it felt like it was all almost like purity and being deserving. And so it was like, make sure that every single thought is perfect and make sure that you are, really intentional about everything. And maybe because of ADHD, I really struggled with meditating. And I really thought that, I was like, but if I can't sit and meditate on things all day, how am I going to manifest anything? So I think before even knowing that I had that, I started looking at what could I do in the real world? How can I break this down into really practical bite-sized pieces? Because I don't feel like I'm worthy and deserving of it because my mind is all over the place. So I always say to people, well, okay, this is what we talk about in Money Bootcamp. Incremental upgrades in your life to make yourself feel better as much as you can without you having to remember. And that's the key, right? Because for us, out of sight, out of mind,
Right.
we just completely forget. So I started looking at little things like that you could do. And one of the first things I did was I changed my password. You might have heard people talk about this quite a few times, but I was in a job and I thought, I'm typing my password in 1 million times a day on my work computer. So I made it one of my goals, because if I had to just sit and think about it, I wouldn't have, but it was a reminder for me. And every time I did, I went, oh yeah, that is my goal. And I think it was something like, self-employed or work for myself, or it was something it wasn't very specific, but it was just enough for me to go, oh yeah. And then I thought, okay, I'm never going to remember to meditate, but what if I printed out a dream board and put it around unexpected places in my house? So I had them on the inside of kitchen cabinets. I had it in my desk drawer at my office. So every time I opened my drawer to get something, I would go, oh yeah, that's right. I remember. And
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a fun one, right? And I put one on my phone screen. You can't probably see this on mine, but it says 200 new boot campers a month.
Nice.
Yeah, just as a little photo, because I pick up my phone 1 million times. I don't even see it, but my brain does.
Consciously you do every time, and it's there.
Absolutely.
I do that with my phone screen all the time as well.
And you may as well, even if you put something that, a picture of your kids or whatever, you could still put a little bit of text on there. So I started looking for things like that to be little anchors. I wore a necklace that had, I think it said well-being, but when you looked at it upside down, it says being well. And so I thought, oh, how can I have those little things around me? Because I think the painful thing sometimes is, here's where I am now, here's where I want to be. How do I get there? And how do I do that fake it till you make it thing that they tell you to do? Because it's so foreign to me. It's not who I am. Yeah. So I started to find all those little things to remind myself, no, this is temporary. This is where I'm going. Yeah. And that's the work I try and do even still now, is how do we make this intensely practical so you don't have to think about it? Oh, another example too is, I'll see if I can find it on my calendar. I'll have little pop-ups that will say, I'm a best-selling author or something. Okay, here's one of my ones at the moment. Millionaire Denise.
Nice.
You can see it.
Yes.
And, my password at the moment is 10 million. And there's just little things like that. And again, I don't see it every day, but sometimes I do. And I go, oh yeah. Or there's like a New York Times best-selling author that comes at 6:45 every day on my phone. Those are those little things that just give you that little zing, because I think, again, we all often think, oh, I have to be perfect before I'm deserving.
Yeah.
And you don't. You just need to have a little bit more.
You'll appreciate
show me.
I have, gosh, where is it? I have Hamilton quotes as on my alarms. There's a few of like when the alarms go off, I see like, you get love for it, you get hate for it, you get nothing if you wait for it. Or I see, I am the one thing in life I can control. Or I see, eyes up, hearts up, mind sharp, chase the light. And
I am inimitable. I am an original.
If I were to turn my computer around, my whole wall that I face has all Hamilton quotes on it. It's my jam.
Perfect. So, well, even just that, right? We all are different in how we learn. So some of us are more visual, and we need to have, your screensavers. You can even put them on your TV too, by the way, like physical things that you can see. Some of us are more auditory, and it's really important what we listen to in our cars, during the day, being really intentional. Some of us are really into scents. So I don't know if I can find my affirmation candle. It's somewhere around. I probably had it for filming, but I used to have this candle that smelled like the beach. And so every time I would sit down and work, I would go, this is for my multi-million-dollar beach house, and I'd go, because smell for me is very powerful. But the thing is, you can layer all of these in. It takes a little bit of work and then you never have to think about it. And that's my preferred way of manifesting, because otherwise I'll never remember.
I completely agree with you there. So you mentioned the whole fake it till you make it. And I guess my feeling is, how do we just really enjoy it along the way? Like to really feel into being where we are and enjoying the present moment, since it's the only place we have any power anyway. So once you've gained that clarity around what it is you're achieving, then what's the best way to build an online business without the hustle and the burnout?
One bit at a time. I think everyone starts from zero, and you have to start as if thousands of people are waiting for your work. You talked about my newsletter. I started doing a newsletter in 2009. And someone said to me, my mentor at the time, send out a newsletter every single week without fail. And I did, and that's how, I'm not good at math. That's quite a few years. What's that?
Like
15 years?
15, yeah, something like that.
Every single week without fail. And I didn't always feel like it. I didn't always have something to say, but I had to create something because I made the commitment,
Right.
and I sent it out as if thousands of people were waiting for it. Same with the webinars that I did, the live streams, all of those things. I did it as if thousands of people were watching. No one was watching, especially at the start. But then I was like, oh, well, now I can use that as my audio for my first opt-in. So I think the secret is persistence and consistency. And people hate me saying that. And I think with the especially with the consistency part, myself personally, I am not consistent. The company is consistent because we have structures in place. So when you said, oh, I loved your email today, I was thinking, I don't even know what that
oh,
is.
Crap, I don't know what I sent out.
No, but because I wouldn't, the way that I work.
I had the same thing. I know, because my assistant set it up too. And yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Exactly.
Yep.
I batch my content when I feel like it, but we have a structure in place that means that something goes out. And so I might only create content. It used to be once or twice a week, then it was once or twice a month. Now what I'll do is I'll do massive sprints where I'll batch content a couple of months ahead of time. And so it's real and beautiful when I create it. When it goes out is none of my business anymore.
Absolutely.
Because it was real in the moment. But so people confuse those two things. You can be the most inconsistent person in the world, but your business does need consistency if you want to create that big business. It's just a fact. And we have to get over that. But I batch it. I batch it when I feel like it. But if my marketing was when I felt like it, you'd have nothing for months, and then you'd get 50 posts in one day.
I struggle with that inconsistency sometimes too. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I might be inconsistent, but I'm actually consistent. I'm consistent in getting help that keeps me consistent. So I make sure that that's in place, and you do that too. So we should really, like, again, the pat on the back along the way, like we're more consistent than we're giving ourselves credit for. That's for sure.
Absolutely. We just confuse our work sometimes and our desires with what the company needs. And they can be separate things.
Sure, absolutely. So you mentioned doing one thing at a time. Now that is something that I struggle with. That's ADHD brain right there too. Like, cause it's like, I want to focus. And you talk a lot about decluttering in a lot of your books and things, which for me, every time I hear you talk about decluttering, it's like this energetic ping, which tells me like there's something going on there for me that I need to unblock. And I realize it's typically the place where I'm hung up on things, where things get a little sticky for me around my manifesting, around my goal achievement, around, just my emotional and mental, being my best in those places. So the clutter tends to hold me back. And so what are your favorite ways to declutter energetically, mentally, physically, whatever?
Well, I love this question because, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's about creating space, moving energy, creating a vacuum. And I say to my Money Bootcampers, I say, when in doubt, shave your legs. Try this one time. And I kind of said it off the cuff because that's what I do when I think I'm so overwhelmed by life. I'm in a spiral, a negative spiral, or something's going on. What I do is I go, I could always have a shower and shave my legs.
Sure.
But there's something there that's symbolic about shifting energy. And you always do feel a little bit different when something like that happens. You get in your sheets and you go, oh, it actually feels really good. So it's not about shaving legs. This is not about body shaming anyone or hair shaming anyone. It was for me, what is the smallest thing that I could do in this moment that makes me feel like I'm shifting energy?
Yeah.
So I said it just off the cuff. And so after this call, all of my Money Bootcampers, well, some of them went and just went, okay, I'm going to just do it. When in doubt, shave your legs. And then people were like, I just got a new client. I just got this happen. I just had this happen. So it's kind of a joke in our world to say, when in doubt, shave your legs, but it could be anything. It could be something like, okay, every time I'm feeling stressed about something, I'm going to delete an app off my phone.
Yeah.
Because it's just the tiniest little thing that you can do just to create a little bit of space. Or I'm going to delete some photos off my phone, or I'm going to, I used to actually scrub the grout on my shower. It just would be, I'd just go and have a long shower and scrub the grout and just think about things.
Like organize a drawer or something like that.
Anything, cut your nails. It could just be anything where you just go, I'm creating a vacuum, I'm creating space. And then you could take it to wherever you want to take it. So I always say to people, if you want new clients, what can you let go of that will create that space? And it could be going and symbolically letting go old client files. Yeah. It could be opening up space in your calendar by saying no to a commitment you no longer want to be committed to. It could be anything like that. So the more you can symbolize it and make it, kind of related to your goal, the better. Go around your house and find all those dusty coins and put them in a jar. It could just be something simple like that. But when in doubt, shave your legs. It's really, it's very powerful.
Apparently there's a bigger energetic shift to that than we've been realizing.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you teach women how to manifest and to, create wealth and to charge higher prices and all these different things in your Money Bootcamp and in your books and everything that I've seen you do, really. And it's always it's a blend of things, kind of like you're talking about, things that complement each other very nicely. What does your personal manifesting routine look like? How often do you do it? And what are your go-to techniques or modalities?
Well, everything I've said is stuff that I do. So I do the pop-up things. I make sure I change my password regularly. I wouldn't say at the moment I'm an amazing goal setter. I used to have a much more consistent goal, writing down process, which I do think is very, very powerful. And I don't know if it's just the season of life I'm in with kids. So I actually love manifesting in the shower, as you can hear. So I write my goals in the shower steam.
Nice.
Yeah. And sometimes I use soap to do it too, because I don't know, sometimes just committing something down on paper feels like too much hard work sometimes.
Can be. Give you a little bit of goal trauma.
Yes, or you get a bit perfectionist about it and go, it's a brand new notebook. I'm not allowed to. Look, I've actually got so many notebooks. Look at this brand new notebook that's sitting on my desk. It says, create your dream life. It's not even being used at all. But I'll do it in the shower steam. I'll make sure I'm listening to things. I make sure that I'm wearing my Affirmation perfume. So I wear Lady Millions perfume. Okay. So all of those, yeah. So when I spray it on, I do it in as many different ways as I can. And I've been doing this for years. Before I was a millionaire, I'd go, these are my millionaire panties. This is my millionaire bra. And it would just be a normal bra. But I just think anything can be an anchor for you if you believe it to be that, So when you put on your perfume, when you put on your makeup, when you look at yourself in the mirror, this is something I do every day. It's like, this is what a millionaire looks like. And I started doing that long before I was a millionaire, because it's actually better when you're not feeling and looking great, because you have to acclimatize yourself to, I'm allowed, this is what it could look like. I can be a millionaire. So it's all that inner work to acclimatize yourself to receiving more. And what I was saying before about the incremental upgrades, it's looking at all of the things in your life and what are those symbolic things that you can upgrade slightly to the next level. And it could be that you start with things that would make you feel better, or you start with the things that currently make you feel poor and inconvenienced. And so I still do that all of the time, because there's always things that creep in that you start to put up with. Like my chair. For a long time, I was just working on a dining chair, and I was getting a sore neck and back. This is only this year that I was doing that, because I can't even remember. I had an office chair. I can't remember what happened to it.
Well, you did say that you're very practical.
Yes, absolutely. But that's the thing. You look at all of those things, because we have to, it's almost like we have to sneak up on our dream life, because otherwise we psych ourselves out of it. And you have to do those things a little incrementally, so it becomes your strong foundation. This is who I am. These are my minimum standards. And have you noticed that when you have those standards for yourself, things do start to shift around you, but it has to start from you. And sometimes we want the world to change for us. We want, like, reflect back to me that I'm worth it. And it's like, no. It starts with you allowing yourself to have an office chair that doesn't give you a sore neck, to use your best mug, to give yourself a fresh tea bag. Yeah. Those are the things that show the universe, hey, I am worthy. And it's little things more than the big things.
Absolutely. I totally agree with everything that you just said. So when you do have those times that you feel stuck or uninspired, are there certain books or songs or anything else in particular that gets you fired back up again?
Yes. And I think songs are very important to me. I love listening to Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. That is that is my song to go, oh, yes, I'm worthy. And I do EFT every single day. And that's not because I remember to do it, but it's part of my bedtime routine with my kids.
Oh, that's awesome. You're going to have to tell me how you've gotten them to do it, because even as a master practitioner, I can't get my family to do it at all.
Well, I started doing it with my first kid when she was about 18 months.
Now, how old are your kids? I don't think we ever got to that when we were starting to talk about family and where you live and everything. I think we went off in another direction. So fill me in on your kids and your family a quick bit.
My kids are 8, 6, and almost 4.
Okay.
And I started doing it with my oldest when she was 18 months old. And I just would do it in front of her. And she just started copying me, and she would do it and she would just nod and do it. And then it was a little bit trickier with my son. And so what I started to do with him, we would do silly voices. So we say, let's do robot tapping. Let's do pirate tapping. And it's so much good. It's so much fun doing pirate tapping, because you do it as a hook instead of fingers. And so we'll be like, I deeply and completely love and accept myself and I deeply and completely love and accept myself. That's how I got my son to do it. And then the little one, she does it too. And so I have a bedtime routine with each of them. And so that's how I remember to do it myself. So even if I never remember, at least I'll do like 6 rounds. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Just that. They don't tend to like the talky bit at the start, except when something like bad's happened at school or something like that. And then we can say, even though this person didn't like me, or even though this happened, but even just that last part, I think, is so important for them, but also for me. I need to remind myself that all of the time, because it's just so easy to psych yourself out, and start to get hard on yourself. Or I start to think, I'm not a good person because of this, and this. And that daily routine is just so important to me. I also work with someone once a month and do tapping and kinesiology. And also I do it on my monthly bootcamp calls. So I know that between a little bit each night, once a month with me, and twice a month with my clients, that's good.
That's awesome. A little nervous system regulation goes a long way. That's for sure.
It really does. And, people ask me, what am I teaching my kids about money? And it's less about the money stuff. It's the fact that I want them to know that they have to be in their own corner. And I think they'll do whatever they want to do then. Because gosh, I wish I had that as a kid. It would have changed my life if I'd known about that earlier than I did.
I mean, I wish that every kid was learning EFT. and learning law of attraction, learning about proper nutrition. I mean, there's so many, and learning about money. Like, I wish there was better curriculum for all of those things for everyone, because I think those are areas where across the board, we're all just really lacking in what kids are learning, and just learning to
I
believe.
agree. And actually on that, my daughter Willow was talking to one of her friends on Roadblocks or whatever. And her friend said, "Oh, you said a swear word." And Willow is not that kid. She was like, "Oh, what did I say?" And the girl said, "You said money." And Willow said, "Money's not a swear word."
You know who my mom is?
Yeah, well, she did. She said, "Money's not bad." And so we have a conversation all the time. And I'm very clear to say, you know what, having lots of money, it doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you a bad person. And really trying to find what's really straddling that line. So I don't,
Money, success, and happiness are all very separate things. And we all seem to think that one affects the other or something, but those are just our thoughts creating that feeling. And it's not, it's all just delusional.
Absolutely. And I want her to know, you know, we have a responsibility, the fact that we have money to help people, but also it doesn't make us anything. It's just, it is a neutral tool, but that's not how people see it in the world. So I kind of aim for neutrality a lot when I talk about money, but I'm really big on love and self-acceptance, because I just think that's going to help them forever, no matter what they do in life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So can you give us some more of your awesome practical advice around money mindset strategies for earning more while working less? That bottom line.
Okay. So I think this is really the crux of my work, is dismantling everyone's own personal relationship between hard work and money. And it manifests so differently for everyone, depending on what we heard growing up. So I find that sometimes their parents had 3 jobs, you know, growing up. So they equate hard work with something that earning money with something that you have to do, that you don't like, that you have to work really hard. But on the flip side, I've met plenty of people who grew up wealthy because their parents were lawyers or doctors that had to bill 100 hours a week.
Sure.
And what I find is especially for our generation, right? We grew up in a very different world. We grew up in a very analog world where there was a more linear relationship between hard work and effort and money. Yet we now live in a world where our businesses can be very leveraged. You can create something, sell it multiple times without any cap on that, really. But our brains have not caught up with that. And it feels wrong. It feels like we're cheating. It feels scammy. And it's broken our brain a little bit of going, but it's not hard work and effort that's going to make the difference. And so I find that very fact paralyzes people quite a lot, because they just can't wrap their brains around the fact that they can create something and it can be leveraged as many times as they like. And it keeps people really stuck. And then unless you've really looked at that relationship between hard work and money, you won't see how you're sabotaging it. I used to sabotage it by not delegating, feeling like I had to do everything myself to really earn it. And I felt incredibly guilty about the fact that my mum, who was a single mum, was working in a nursing home, and her entire week's salary could be one client for me. It just felt inappropriate, and it felt like I was doing something really wrong. And it paralyzed me for a long time. So other people, it might be that they're reinventing the wheel, that they're scared of what that would mean if they had more money, or it just doesn't feel right somehow in our bodies. So we really have to go and examine that and excavate some of our reasons why it might feel a bit weird. The second thing is we also have a relationship between I can help people or make money, but I can't do both.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's obviously related to the first one, but that can be very personal too. And for some people, it might even be this thing of, I can be a good person or make money. I can be a good mother and make money. And, you know, you're a similar age to me. And so what did we see in the 80s growing up about working mums in movies and TVs? and
Oh
TV
goodness,
shows.
there were some crazy movies about that. Yeah, Mr. Mom, and what movies are you thinking of?
Well, I remember seeing Dennis the Menace,
Yes.
and his mum was trying to be a career lady, and at work she was dismissed because she was a mom. And in the neighborhood, it was like she was trying to get a babysitter because she wanted to go to a work conference, and it was just seen as like, you can't have it all. You can't have it all. And if you do, then you are think of the career women that we saw in a lot of those movies too. They were like bitchy, they were, you know, mean, they were ruthless, all of this kind of stuff. And so I don't think we had any good role models of like, this is what it would be like to be a well-rounded person with money, because all we saw was tropes, really, about
Right.
rich people and rich ladies or rich mom. Or you couldn't really have kids and be wealthy, or it was inherited, or it was something like that, or you did something bad for it.
Or they were ending up feeling bad and they were feeling guilty, the moms that were working, because they were missing out on being the stay-at-home mom or what have you. So there, yeah, it was a lot of negative stuff being imparted, that's for sure. I think we're
Absolutely.
all still getting over that.
Well, we are. And there was no depiction of like, oh, this is what a wealthy healer or a wealthy writer, or, I talk to a lot of different industry groups, and for the natural practitioners who are in the health world, they grew up seeing people who were very ditzy or flaky, or there was just never any healthy depictions of that. And I remember the only depiction I saw of a writer that stuck in my mind was Mary Fisher in She Devil. And do you remember?
I do. That's a dusty memory, but yes.
I watched that constantly growing up. And, she had this pink laptop, which in the 80s would have just been like unbelievably futuristic. And I was just like, oh, but she just wasn't a good person in any way. Goldie Hawn, she only became a nice person when she was humbled, by having
Overboard. Goodness,
Yes,
I love that
Overboard.
movie. That's a favorite of mine.
I just watch those constantly. I remember seeing Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yes,
And
another good one.
yes, and seeing Christina Applegate in Suits. And I just went, oh, I want to work in an office. It just felt so romantic. But I really just was like, oh, I just couldn't understand that you could help people and make money, because it felt like it was just one or the other. And when you have that inside you, often you attract clients who reflect that back to you. And I've seen
every
people,
time.
yeah, exactly. That if you really cared about this, it would be free. And it's painful. And so we just think, well, I can't make money doing this. And especially if your work is helping people in some way or overcoming something. And then the third thing that I always help people with is uncovering their personal fears about what more money would mean for them. I call this more money, more problems.
Yeah.
And it could be worrying about, and it's all below the surface. If you say to someone, what are your worries about becoming wealthy? They go, no, Denise, I want to become wealthy. And I'm like, yeah.
At the bottom of it all is some kind of fear that it's going to kill you. When you get down to that root cause, we're all just afraid of it's going to be some kind of a death. It's
going to be a death. I will cause someone to die in my life. I will lose something because I can't have both. I can't have it all. I will get in trouble with the tax man. I'll be thrown in debtor's jail. I'll be sued. I'll be embarrassed. I'll be shamed.
Uncomfortable.
I'll be burnt at the stake. Mm-hmm. And I do this every single month, and especially every single launch. I go, what am I afraid of?
Yeah.
And there's always something there, and it's always the same old stuff.
So funny.
People are not going to like me. That's where, I'm going to lose it all, and I'm going to die, and everyone I love is going to die. And I think this is where the law of attraction stuff comes in, because people think, no, but I can't even go there because I'll attract it. And I'm like, but it's there already.
Right.
It's there. We're just decluttering it. We're letting it go. We're putting it out into the light, which is exactly what EFT does, right? People resist doing EFT because they say, I don't want to say the bad thing. You go, but the bad thing's living there anyway.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. But that means the good things are already there too. And that's what I think gets discounted so much. You know, we had a snake we found on our property earlier today. And I have always had this bit of a fear. I've tapped on it a lot. But when I saw it today, I knew right off the bat 100% that I had manifested it. And that, you know, because it's been this weird little thing that's been like on my mind that I haven't been like doing anything with the thought. I totally brought it here. And that terrified me more, thinking that I'm just that powerful with the good stuff as I am with the stuff that's, you know, that I'm bringing in that's not as good. And it was actually a great affirmation and reminder of how powerful my thoughts are.
We really, really are. We're so powerful. Can I tell you the story? It's in my book. You've probably heard this before, but about the car.
Do tell.
Do you remember this from the book? Okay. So my husband and I, we really stretched to buy our dream house by the ocean. We saw a house close by, and as I was walking around, I heard this voice saying, "Get out, this is not your house," literally. And so we came and we stood on this piece of land just talking, and I was like, what about this house? And it was crazy expensive at the time, and I just went, we're just going to manifest it. And we pulled everything out. That's not the story anyway. We pulled everything out, we made it happen. Anyway, we were going to pick up the keys, and I was feeling sick. I just was like, I can't believe we pulled that off. It was such a fluke. What were we thinking? And I said to Mark, we're going to have to really tighten our belts over the next year, because like, it's almost like I'm going to have to give up something. You know, it's like I did this thing and I pulled it off, but something bad's going to happen to balance it out. And so I said, we're really going to have to tighten our belts. And he said, oh my God, that doesn't sound like you. And I went, yeah, you're right. There's always more money. And as I said that, a shower of money hit our car as we were driving, like a shower of $50 notes. And in Australia, they're bright yellow. And it was like, I don't know, a couple of $1,000 just hit our car. And our windscreen wipers came on because they're auto. And we both screamed. We were just like, what? And Mark's like, do we stop the car? Because this money was flying it was all over the road. And I was like, no, it's not about that. It's a reminder that there's always more money. And it was just the most strange thing. I've never heard anyone in the town ever mention it.
Really?
Never. And I don't know, was it a shared hallucination? Because if it was just me, I would be thinking that didn't happen. But the fact that Mark was in the car, he was driving, it was just hilarious. But it was just one of those things. I think, no, there is always more money. And we're the ones who like believe that they're in scarcity. There's not.
Right.
There's not scarcity.
We create the money with our brains, not with the hours of work. And
absolutely,
the time for money model, I think, gets a lot of us screwed up, you know, because when we are actually making the amount of money that we want to be making, there's not enough hours in the day to have made that in the way that our brains tell us we were supposed to.
Exactly, because we think it's a linear thing, right? We go, right. Oh, if I want to double my salary I have to work twice as hard. And that's not the case. And so there's one thing that I've done recently that I just went, wow. You know, the Hamel tome?
The book that has like all the pictures and things in it?
Yes. And it's got like line notes, and it's got notes about where the song ideas came from and things like that. When I touch that, I just go, whew, because Lin-Manuel has created from his imagination this incredibly abundant piece of work. Yes. And he was on honeymoon and he read a book and he went, I wonder. And I think we have so many ideas inside of us that can create abundance. And the reason why often we don't let them out is because we have those stories inside ourselves that we're not good enough. So I started saying to myself last year, I am a creative genius. And it felt really weird because we're allowed to call men geniuses. There's definitely a gender thing here, right? We're allowed to call men geniuses. We call them geniuses all the time. How often are women called geniuses? who are just as creative and prolific as someone like Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is a creative genius, let's face it. But I was like, as I read some of those things, I was like, my brain works that way too. Maybe I can be a creative genius. And it was just a really interesting experiment to see how that felt in my body.
Right.
And I started to give myself permission to implement some of my maybe more creative ideas. And it was a really fascinating experiment. So I think we're always just having to push the edge. You know, I never get to a place where I go, wow, I'm so amazing, I'm incredible. I never.
It's really tough, isn't it? It's the same thing with like, you know, we can't call ourselves a thought leader or anything. That has to be bestowed upon us. You know, we can't call ourselves a genius. It has to come from somewhere else, but it comes from within anyway. So we might as well acknowledge it.
Absolutely. But I have to do that all the time, not because I think I'm so good, because I have to remind myself all the time that I'm okay. I'm a good person. It's safe for me to do things like, but it's that EFT. It comes back to deeply and completely love and accept myself. I have to do it all the time. All of us have to do it all the time. Otherwise, we'll psych ourselves out. And there are enough lessons that tell us that we're not good enough, that we're not young enough or smart enough or thin enough. May as well be in our own corner.
Yeah, our inner critic does a number on us all day long. So when we can actually find that, what I like to refer to as that compassionate side of our heart chakra, that place where we're actually like our own best friend and talking to ourselves the same way we would talk to another, that's where like our energy should vibe at more often than not. And it's definitely an exercise, a practice, something that has to be practiced on a daily basis, no matter how long you've been doing it.
Ongoing forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally, no matter how much money you have. And that's all of the books I've written, all of the lessons in my Money Bootcamp, every chapter of, you know, of those books, it really does come down to that self-love and acceptance, because everything else is logistics. I don't need to tell people how to write a book or create a program or market. It's all out there for free. It's the inner work. That's the battle. That's the thing that we have to work on, because everything else is Googleable, buyable, easy.
How long does it normally take you to write one of your books?
Between a day and 50 years. There's no, you know what it's like. Come on. As an ADHD person, who knows? I have no concept of time. And every time I get to the end, Mark is always like, when's it going to finish? I just look at him and go, I don't know. How do I know? I'll tell you one tip though. I always try and write the end early, because otherwise I'll never finish. And so I always write the first part, I write the end, and then I fill in and just go where the energy takes me, because otherwise I would never finish. And I just handed in a book actually recently that I'm self-publishing, and I'm still not happy with it. I would tinker with it forever.
Sure.
And that's why it was brilliant. This is another law of attraction story about the book. So when Chillpreneur was released, I started writing it straight after my second son was born, because I was trying to read a Tim Ferriss book. And I just went, none of these case studies, none of them have kids. Like none of them understand. You know, I was breastfeeding and I was just like, and I just went, I'm going to write a book that is a little bit more understanding of that. No offense to Tim, but you know, he doesn't know what it's like to be breastfeeding and trying to write a book.
You know, they're all necessary and valued, but different.
Exactly. And I used to be angry about that. I'd go, why doesn't Tim have more women case studies? And then I just went, but it's not his job.
Not his audience. It's not, yeah.
No. And even if he did it, he can't, you know, bless him, but he can't do that from that perspective. So I went, I can write a book.
A gap to step right into.
Right. And I just went, I'll start writing it. So I started writing it when baby number 2 was born, and I handed it in when baby number 3, when I was 8 months pregnant with baby number 3. And I remember, you know, sending some ideas about the cover. And I was like, look, I'm 8 months pregnant, but give me a couple of months and I'll do a great photo. and I didn't like the cover that they chose. And I remember saying it to them just like, I really don't, okay, but that's fine, whatever. And I said to the universe, make this make this happen. I want a new cover at some point. And so when they contacted me last year and they said, oh, look, we'd love to do a new edition of Chillpreneur, you know, post-pandemic and with some case studies and stuff like that. And I went, great, but I have to have a different cover this time. And they went, yes, no problem. And they said, well, we never really liked the name Chillpreneur. Can you change the name? And I was like, done. But it's just that thing of sometimes we get frustrated when things don't happen like that. And that for me was a 3-year manifestation, but I just left it up to the universe. And no one ever gets a chance to redo books, by the way. It's unheard of. But I remember just writing it down and I went, universe, just take care of this at some point for me. And so sometimes things don't manifest straight away. Sometimes things, you know, the money doesn't fly at your face in the moment.
And sometimes it does fly at your face.
It does. And sometimes it takes a little while. And so don't give up. You know, some of my dreams took years and years to manifest, but I felt like I was in the journey, and that's okay. You know, there's always other things that you can manifest in the meantime, but it's worth it. You know, it's really worth it. And so I'm thrilled. I love the new cover of Chill and Prosper. And for those of you who've already, if you're listening and you're like, but I bought the first one, to incentivize you to buy the new one with the new case studies and the new content, we've got a ton of pre-order bonuses, including meditations, which we haven't even talked about, but they're one of my manifesting secrets too, subliminal visualizations and meditations.
Yeah. I want to hear more about this, because you said that you don't like to meditate, and I had hang-ups about meditation too. That's why I got into EFT, because it was like active meditation and I could handle that. But I want to hear more about that.
Okay, so first, let me just give you the link before I forget. It's Denise. Thank you. DeniseDT.com/prosper. And that's where all of the pre-order bonuses are. Okay, meditations. When I was studying at school for my final exams, and I struggled like heck to study, I was in a crystal store and I saw this cassette tape of a subliminal meditation on how to study or how to remember things or whatever. And so it was just classical music, and I would listen to it while I studied, and it really helped me. And I ended up getting a decent mark. So I used that all throughout university as well. And then I started making my own, because I know that I'm not good at sitting and just doing nothing. But with ADHD, we're so good at multi-layering different things.
Yes.
And so I listen to them while I work. And so I just created 4 different albums, and it's like how to develop an abundance mindset, how to develop a millionaire mindset, how to grow an abundant business. And they're all part of the pre-order bonuses. And so they're just, you know, lovely, beautiful meditation music, but then the affirmations are there too. So you can just listen to them while you're sleeping or working, just not in the car.
Well, that'll already fit right in. I'm very excited to receive those, because I love like any kind of different like frequency type musics that I can listen to. I love binaural beats. I have my headphones by my side of my bed all the time, because when I wake up early, which I do pretty much all the time, I automatically go right to doing like self-hypnosis or that kind of thing before I get up. So yours will fit right in there. I'm excited to try those.
You know, the funniest story that I heard from this, someone sent me a message and said, I've been listening to your meditations in the background, and my cat keeps on bringing home mice all of a sudden. And she was like, I think my cat's just listening to the, like, there's abundance in the world. There's always more. Honestly,
interesting. So now we need some case studies with pets.
Honestly, I've even heard people who say, oh, my husband's not, you know, or my partner's not very motivated or interested, but they play these around the house. It does go in, it does make a difference. So that's what I call kind of that lazy manifesting, or that automatic manifesting, where you don't have to expend a lot of effort, but you're still working on the mindset piece, which is really
I play mine out into the bedroom at night, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hoping that some of it sunk in on the other side of the bed with my other half.
It really does. And it's funny, I find that sometimes people who aren't interested in personal development, they actually absorb it much quicker, because they don't have a lot of resistance to it sometimes. They just go, oh yeah, okay. You know, when you read a book and then you just download the Cliff's Notes to your spouse and they get it straight away, and you go, cool.
Yes.
You know, I had to go and do all of that, and you're just getting the benefit of it. Great. But it does work.
Absolutely. And I guess they're just chilling and prospering.
Chill and prosper. Exactly. It's my favorite way to do it.
What are some of your favorite ways to do just that with the book launching and with that theme in mind? How do you like to tell people or help yourself to grow your business, make millions, and change the world?
Yeah, it is. All of those things, all of those techniques we've already talked about, it really does come back to the loving and accepting yourself, because then you'll give yourself permission to make it easy, to make more money, to help people. And it's tricky. There's a lot of internal resistance that we all have around this stuff, and you have to go and explore it. You have to go and explore it to be able to give yourself permission. But it can be easy. It's allowed to be easy. We live in a time, look around how lucky we are to be alive right now.
Absolutely.
Like literally the best time in the world to be an entrepreneur, where the tools have never been easier. And I think I really love listening to that song for that exact reason, from Hamilton, of just, we sing it all the time at home, but just like, look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. Doesn't mean the world's perfect, but it means that my mum didn't have those opportunities. My grandmother didn't have those opportunities. We do.
Yeah.
And we can do something with it.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I'm so very appreciative of all the nuggets that you shared. And if people want to find more of you and what you're up to, where should they look?
Well, first of all, I love hearing from people on social media. It just makes my day. So my social media accounts are at Denise DT, DENISE DT. And that's my website too, denisedt.com. And if you go to the /prosper, that's where you'll get all of the book bonuses, and there'll be the links as well to where you can buy it, because it's in paperback and Audible and Kindle, all of those things. And then there's a ton of resources on my website too about pricing and money mindset, and just fun stuff. Like, I really believe we can talk about money like we do anything in our life. So I try and bring a lighthearted and fun, curious kind of energy to money. And if you got a nugget from this, or if you have a manifesting story, tag us both and let us know what came out of this.
Absolutely. And I'm sure hoping that some new people get to know who you are through this and to see what a joy it is to be connected with you. So thank you so much for everything today, Denise. Thank you for being here. All right. That is a wrap. Is there anything that you missed or that you wanted to add, or?
You asked such great questions. Thank you. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That means a lot. And you really were an inspiration to me in pursuing my mastery work with EFT and getting into that as a real focus of my own coaching work and stuff. So I appreciate that.
So do you do one-to-ones with that, or group stuff with EFT?
Yes and yes. So
wow.
I have programs and things too. So
so powerful.
Yeah, I combine it with visualizations and affirmations and breath work, and I take all my favorite modalities, and the crystal bowl type stuff, and just all different things kind of get combined together. And all the things that I love, I like to bring in, because I feel like I work with a lot of other ADHD women, and we get really overwhelmed trying to figure out, like, what's the modality I need to do this? Like, do I do this or do I do that? And I just say, just come and we'll figure it out. And I'll make sure you have the right thing for the issue you're dealing with. And that way you don't have to sort it out and be overwhelmed by, am I doing the right thing? Is it, because it doesn't have to be that difficult. So
do you do retreats and events as well?
I'm hoping to get into retreats next year. I'm kind of like doing my studying up on that. And I'm, if you have any resources or suggestions for learning, open to it. I've taken a program.
No, just book an event and just do it. Book a space.
Just do it. Okay. I see you're doing retreats on your rose farm now, and they look fabulous.
Well, when I bought it, I bought it in 2018. That's the plan. I was like, oh, I can do all these retreats. And then obviously COVID was, we had to cancel heaps of them. The good thing is, because it's my venue, it's no big deal, but it was really sad to not be able to do them. So I've got one in August, and I bring in a crystal bowl lady because it's just stunning.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And even what's fascinating about it actually with the retreats is that you think you have to give so much information, but it's the space that people don't have to come up with their own answers.
Yeah, I feel like it is the space. I feel like most people, they don't want a program or anything too complicated right now because they already feel like they don't have time to just live. And if you can actually get away from all of it, you can actually get that decluttering and all of that other stuff that you need to really soak up something new and actually do something with it instead of just accumulating knowledge for the sake of knowledge, which doesn't do anything for any of us except make us feel like we're falling short all the time because we haven't been able to make it come to fruition in the ways that we want it.
We all know what to do. Like, we know how to market stuff. Like, we know. It's all the other stuff. And I had a VIP day there actually, and I was like, I don't know what to do on this VIP day. I'm like, I don't know, just, the stuff. And one thing, I got her to go into our rose tunnels, and we're terrible rose farmers, by the way. We just have no idea what we're fucking doing. But I said, just go into the tunnels, pick a rose that represents, where you're at in your business right now, and one that represents where you want to go. And then we just talked about it, and she was crying. I was like, why do I think it has to be so hard? People just want space. That's it.
Yep.
They need space to be held for them for a little bit. That's it.
Absolutely. It really is more simple than we all make it out to be. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it looks like we're going to release on the 6th of July for this, unless you prefer a different July date.
No, that's perfect. I think the book comes out, it's like the 20th of July or something like that.
Okay. I know when we were going back and forth, you were looking for a July release.
Yep.
If you prefer later in the month, I can bump
it.
No,
that's perfect.
Lining up right now.
No, that's perfect, because Hay House, they're all about the pre-order stuff. And it's weird because they only really count paperbacks in that. It's so strange. Like all the
it's right. I would have
weird.
Is the Audible one releasing at the same time? Because I know I did pre-order, but I don't think that audio was a pre-order option. And I'm like an Audible junkie, like, I don't think I order the book in like copy that I have to read.
I love that. Yeah, same with me. I'm all about the Kindle version. I don't think Audible do pre-orders because they want people to do the membership.
Okay.
Stuff. So I know I recorded it like a month ago, and it will probably be uploaded probably by the end of this month. So maybe then they'll let people pre-order a couple of weeks before. I'm not sure. So at the moment, it's just the paperback and the hardcover and the Kindle that's pre-order. So yeah, no, that's perfect. And when it goes live, just reach out to my team, send them the artwork, and
I will. And whatever my assistants usually create some like reels and some things that you could use if you want to.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
We'll send you like a little folder with everything in it.
And awesome. Yeah, because people always just tag me and stuff, and I'm like, I'll re-tag that, but just if you send it to my team, they'll post it on the main feed, which is always great
I'm happy to share that. And how is it working with Hay House? Is it awesome?
It's both. Like, the thing that I think is frustrating from a ADHD point of view is that publishing is a very slow industry. And so it takes like a year and a half.
Did you self-publish your other books?
I self-published all of them. So Get Rich and Lucky Bitch were both self-published for years. So when I did Chillpreneur with them, I just said to them, do you want to just take the other books? Like, you don't even have to pay me a upfront fee for it. And they were like, yeah, cool. So then they have all of those now. And so they were already, Lucky Bitch came out in 2011. So it'd already been out for 6 years. And so that's why I say to people, just self-publish if you don't have an audience, because it doesn't mean that you can't traditionally later. And I'm doing some self-publishing ones too, just because I'm doing like money mindset guides for different industries. And I'm just going to do them quick. So I've done like money mindset for natural health practitioners, money mindset for writers. The next one's body workers. Then I'll do photographers and dance teachers. I'm just finding all those little niches and just getting them out as quickly as I can. If I did them with Hay House, each one would take 18 months to 2 years.
And is that with the goal of getting them to kind of funnel into boot camp? And yeah. That's kind of figured with my book. I'd probably do more of like a book funnel kind of an idea where I can get people into higher ticket programs that I have versus worrying about book sale revenues is the primary.
I don't care, honestly. I really don't. It's nice getting the royalties for sure, but it's more about other ways to reach people. Yeah. And I mean, if you were to do EFT books, you could do EFT for dance teachers, EFT for blah, blah,
Right.
blah, because everyone's going for the same, big overall market of entrepreneurs, but it's finding those little niches that are underserved with specific mindset work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for all that. I appreciate that.
Oh no, I appreciate you, like, honestly sharing with your audience. And yeah, because it's so funny promoting a book called Chill and Prosper, and then I have to do like 100 interviews for it. I'm like,
this is not what it's about.
people are like, are you chilling and prospering? I'm like, not this month.
No, not right now. But I'll know how to do it in August.
Well, that's the problem too. I think my biggest thing with ADHD is I layer projects on because I have no concept of how long things take. So I'm always just like, writing multiple books, creating multiple programs all at the same time. I have to really be careful with that because I'm so delusional.
Well, you know what? We're all delusional, but I mean, so many people get stuck in the delusion of like, it can't happen, it won't happen, it's not for me, blah, blah, blah. We might as well be stuck in the delusion of I'm going to finish all these projects.
I can do it all at the same time because time does not apply to me. The law of physics do not apply.
Time gets me every time too. Awesome. Well, I know your day is just starting out. It's Monday.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, that's fine. I was just going to ask you actually, are you medicated for your ADHD? What did you do when you found out?
I played around with Adderall last year. It had worked really well. My oldest is 17. I have 4 boys. So I have a 17-year-old, a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Oh, wow. You've got all the spectrum all at once.
Oh my God. This year it was literally high school, middle school, elementary school, and preschool. And I don't know how it is in Australia, but we also have a national bus shortage. So it was like every day it was an adventure of like,
and teachers as well, shortage and everything.
The teachers were actually pretty steady for us this year, but the buses were like, you get like half-hour notice sometimes, like, yep, they don't have a bus today. So like, drop everything. And all of a sudden there's like an hour that I wasn't getting to do whatever, but it's all good. And it's almost summer, thank goodness. But yeah, I tried Adderall and I really liked it for a bit, and then I really didn't. So it felt helpful. I'm doing a lot of like nootropic supplements and things now instead. And I have like 4 different varieties of those that I like. So I kind of switch them up, and I feel like that works better for me and kind of keeps it fresh. I felt like I was getting edgy on the Adderall. What about you?
I tried Ritalin for about 2 weeks, and it really did not agree with me. I was very teary and angry. It was not good. But now I'm on Vyvanse. Yeah, and I would say most of the time it's good, but I can get a little bit edgy on it as well. Yeah, and it's tricky because I feel like it can impact me very differently day to day, the exact same medication.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on where you're at in your cycle, what you've eaten, even like where you're at with deadlines, or, and just the stress of being a mom and,
Yeah. And I feel like just getting into our 40s too, like the hormones are getting a little wonky now. And like, it's kind of like, okay, is it the ADHD? Is it the hormones? Is it the medication? Is it just like, what is it? So
I think that's why I was saying I'm a different person than I was a year ago, because I'm also taking hormone replacement therapy for perimenopause.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like,
helping?
Yeah. But I mean, I was like, I've got, things that go up my clacker, around my clacker. I have to remember things to put on my arms every day. Like there's a cream on my butt at night. I'm like, and then my meds, I'm just like, man, there's a lot to remember. And there's part of me that's like, am I going to do this for the rest of my freaking life? Because I remember my grandma, she'd had all these things, and I'm like, that's me now. I'm my grandma with all my pills and potions.
Well, you can always decide tomorrow to do something different.
Totally. And I do think they all help, but it's hard, right, to know of, there's not an exact science for any of it, unfortunately. But George, he started Ritalin this year because he started school in February, and it's completely changed everything for him, and it's changed our family life because he was really causing a lot of stress for our family with his behavior, and they wouldn't even try meds until he'd been a term at school. And it was worse than we could have even imagined, his first term. And like, he's a lovely kid, but he was just in trouble, you know, every day, and he was struggling with everything. And since meds, I'm like, oh my God, this kid's going to be a genius. Like, he knows how to read already. Like, he's,
Right.
you know, he asks us to do sums for fun. He learned how to play chess. He's playing football, you know, and I'm just so thankful that meds have worked for him. But I can see my 4-year-old girl, I'm like, oh, she's totally going to have it too. But my 8-year-old, she doesn't, I don't think. So it's
it's
tricky.
hit or miss. I mean, all mine do. And the medication's been hit or miss for us. Like my
really?
oldest, it's been a blessing. The 2 middle ones, it was not good. So, you know, we just find other things to, you know.
Well, at least you know, and you
Yeah.
can name it and get
Yeah,
them help that way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a journey, just like everything else. So
It is. Well,
yeah.
have a great night, and thank you for doing this on a Sunday night for me. And I'll see you online.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Denise. Take care.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.